As you know, final exams are coming up pretty soon, in the middle of June, towards the end. Some of you are also going to be taking SATs, PSATs, ACTs. So this video is just a little strategy session on how to kind of get the best out of exams, whether it's finals or any other type of thing. So here are some general tips that will apply to pretty much whatever type of exam you might be taking. The first is to go ahead and budget your time. If you have an hour and a half, kind of know how much time is left. You're not going to want to spend too much time on one question. Just kind of make sure you keep going. The other thing is go to the review sessions that your teachers have. Take notes when the teachers review for the exam. Almost every teacher, if you're preparing for a final, will have at least one class session devoted to reviewing for the test. So take advantage of that. I mean, that's there so that you can do well. Teachers want you to do well. So take notes, fill out study guides if they give it to you, do all of that. You'd be surprised, even if you do nothing else, although you should study more, that will help you to get a better grade on your exam. Make sure you eat breakfast. It's really true that if you're hungry, even if you're not really, you might not feel hunger pains, you're just not going to do as well. So eat breakfast, particularly like maybe have some protein, some peanut butter or something. This might seem self-explanatory, but make sure you set your alarm. Maybe even set a backup if this is a problem for you, because you're not going to be allowed in if you're late, and it's just really important to be there. Use the bathroom before you go to the exam. You don't want to be sitting there and having to worry about, you want to be able to focus everything you have on taking the test, and depending on the teacher or the setting, sometimes you might not be able to get up and go. So, take care of all those kinds of things before you step into the exam. This might seem self-explanatory, but make sure you have a writing utensil. Don't come to the exam and not have a pencil. It's probably a pretty logical conclusion that you're going to have to write something. So make sure you have a writing utensil, pencil, pen, whatever. Do the easiest problems first. Kind of look the test over before you even start. If there's something you absolutely know, do that first. Get that out of the way so you can take care of the things that are going to be harder for you. In addition, do items that have the most points. Do those first. If there's a 30-point essay and then a bunch of 1-point multiple choice questions, take care of the essay first. Get that out of the way so that way you know that you've got that under control. And that goes along with pacing yourself. Just kind of don't spend forever on one question. Don't spend time zoning out and daydreaming. Just kind of pace yourself. Keep going. Doing all of these things, each of these little things in themselves might not be a big deal, but if you kind of practice all of these tips, it can really help you. So now we're going to move on to some specific tips for certain types of questions you might encounter. Lot of multiple choice questions on final exams here at the high school and also on the SATs, the ACTs. You'll see a lot of multiple choice questions, and there's a trick to answering them, particularly to answering them well. This might seem self-explanatory, but read the question carefully. Make sure you know what the question is asking. Sometimes the question wants to make sure you know the difference between one thing and another. The wording might seem a bit tricky, so really read the question carefully, know what it's asking. I can't stress this next one enough. Eliminate the answers you know are not right. If you have 4 choices, you will usually be able to look at them and cross at least one and usually 2 out. Sometimes teachers will actually put one in there that's just a little bit ridiculous. But make sure cross out the ones you know are not right. Then at the very worst, you can get yourself down to a 50-50 chance at getting the right answer. Go with your first, if you're not sure, if you're not absolutely certain, go with your first your gut feeling. Amazingly, a lot of the time, that answer is usually the correct one. So, it's not a good idea to just go ahead and change it, because if you're not 100% certain, go with your gut. Be really careful of none of the above or all of the above. I think a lot of times the tendency is to just automatically check that one, say, well, if they put it there, it must be right. But that's not always the case. You know, sometimes that's not true. So just really look at your choices. Like if one of the answers is all of the above, make sure that A, B, and C all actually are true. You know, don't just automatically jump to that one. Also, a positive choice is more likely to be true than a negative choice. So again, if you're really not sure and one is a negative and one is a positive choice, you know, and you have to just take a wild guess, try the positive choice. Essay questions. Essay questions are kind of a staple on exams. There is now on the ACT and SAT a writing sample. Essay questions are an excellent way for you to really show what you know. It's a really good way for you to pull together the things you do know about a subject, and if you do it right, really craft a really good essay that will boost your grade. They're often worth more points than the multiple choice, so knowing how to shine in these is a really good skill to have. First thing is, read the directions carefully. Make sure you follow them. Make sure you know what the question is asking. You know, if the question says, you know, compare and contrast, make sure you compare and contrast. If it says give 5 examples, you know, make sure you know what it's asking. If it's asking for, you know, you to compare 2 types of things, make sure you do that. Which is kind of what I just said here. It just, you know, don't go off on a rant or a tangent. You know, more is not necessarily better. You are much better off having 3 excellent paragraphs that answer the question and give a lot of good information than having 2 pages of gobbledygook. Here's an important one. If the question is asking for facts, don't give your opinion. You know, just if it's asking for facts, don't say, well, don't go on and on about what you think about the subject or what you think about this, because that's just extra verbiage, and teachers can absolutely see right through that, and it won't gain you any extra points to just add a lot of extra words. I cannot stress this last thing enough. Make an outline before you start writing. Nothing that you do is as important as this. Take a minute, 2 minutes to just lay out kind of, you know, your first paragraph and your supporting facts, your second paragraph and your supporting facts, your third, and just get them out there in bullet form so that you can, then when you start writing, you'll have it all there, and the result will be a much better, much more coherent essay. Short answer questions are another type of question that there's a couple of tricks to. Try to anticipate the questions that are going to be asked on the test. You know, if you've gone to the study sessions or you've prepared, you're going to have a good idea that they're going to ask you about this or that, and just kind of have a sense of that. Never ever leave an answer blank. It's just, I mean, put something down. You know, even if you get it wrong, you're no worse off than you, unless there's a penalty for guessing, but on your finals here at school, there won't be a penalty for guessing. The SAT, sometimes there is, but there aren't short answers on the SAT anyways. So this question is more about your finals. There's no reason not to put something. You know, you might get lucky and accidentally hit on the right answer. Sometimes you might get part of it and get partial credit. But you're no worse off than you if you left it blank. So just never leave something blank. Put something. If you don't know an answer, skip it and come back later. You know, I mean, don't spend, 12 years thinking about the answer and you use up all your time. Skip it, circle the number, go do the ones you know, come back, and then really try to puzzle it out. And this is really important. Make sure you answer all the parts of the question. Sometimes there's 2 parts. Sometimes they might want 2 different things. And if you don't read it carefully and only answer one part, you're going to lose points. So these are just really important tips for short answer questions. So true and false questions. Believe it or not, there's quite a few tricks to true and false, and there's some ways that you can make sure. For one thing, usually there are more true answers than false answers. Don't know why that is, but that's just a statistic. Again, excuse the typo. That means Maine. There's a little typo there. Never, always, and every mean that the statement must be true all of the time. These questions are usually false. Let me explain. That's a little bit confusing. If you see the word never, always, and every, and you're not 100% sure, you might want to go with false, because very few things in the world are always, always, always something or other. So go with that. Usually, sometimes, and generally, and here again, sorry about the typo, mean that the statement can be considered true or false depending on the circumstances. So, really kind of think about it. Really, is it something that's sometimes true, sometimes false? So kind of really think about that one too. One thing to remember, if you guess, you have a 50-50 chance. So unless there's a penalty for guessing, you're better off just taking a shot. Use these tricks, make sure there's not any of these words, and then just kind of take your best shot. You got a 50-50 shot. So I hope you all do really well on your exams. I hope that these little suggestions have helped. The best thing you can do for yourself is to just really study, really go to the review sessions, and kind of take these hints to heart.